Hello, welcome to the best proven recovery tools that you can utilize post-mountain, post-exercise, or if you just want to fill your time with something fun to do. Sorry. Last year I made a video here on some of the best recovery tools that you can utilize, but it was primarily on cold plunge and sauna. Yes, because they are hot right now, but we'll get into that later. Before we dive in, this video is sponsored by nobody. In all seriousness, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out to continue putting out great content like this. My name is Mark. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, one half of Mobility Duo with my wife, Sarah, who is a yoga instructor, certified personal trainer, licensed massage therapist, etc., etc. And we do all of this for snowboarders of varying levels in regards to strength, mobility, flexibility, longevity, you name it, we do it. I wanted to do an update on this video because for me, I'm nearly 36 years old. Recovery is extremely important. I'm a very active person, so I need to be able to bounce back as quickly as possible to stay at my peak, to stay injury-free and perform at my very best. On my free time, I like to do in-depth studies on the latest and greatest evidence, finding very specific articles, etc., to find objective evidence that I can utilize and pass on to you and break it down, all of that great stuff. So I did just that, and I found some literature on some proven recovery tools and techniques that actually have evidence behind it. Now, one caveat, every study is flawed. It's very rare to find a perfect study, so this one does have flaws as well. We can dive into those if you want, but it's very boring. Just know that this is not perfect. We can pick this apart in any way we want. In saying that, we look for the highest quality of studies, which would be systematic reviews, meta-analysis, randomized controlled trials, things like that. Today's study happens to be a meta-analysis. Basically what that means is they grab a bunch of articles, they look at thousands potentially that meet that criteria, and they pick and pull the very best ones that basically they want in their meta-analysis. It is the highest form of scientific journals, and that is why we are using it today. Today's article looked at nearly 1,700 medical journals between the dates of 1958 and 2017. Of these 99 medical journals, they wanted to compare a single session of these recovery techniques after physical exercise covering DOMS or delayed onset muscle soreness, perceived fatigue, and inflammatory and muscle damage markers. Yeah, I'm not gonna name those, but you can read them. So what is DOMS? DOMS is delayed onset muscle soreness. Without getting into too much detail, basically when you lift or exercise a lot and you feel sore 24 to 48 hours, yeah, that's DOMS. 48 hours seems to be the peak, but essentially what it is, it's your muscles, tissues breaking down, rebuilding, and it's that inflammatory component rebuilding the body from the inside. Perceived fatigue, just like it sounds, how do you feel after exercise or after recovery? Do you feel refreshed and rejuvenated, or do you feel fatigued, not quite at your peak, ready to go back at it? And lastly, inflammatory and muscle damage markers, again, just like how they sound. When you exercise, you lift weights, you complete an endurance activity, your muscles or tissues are broken down and rebuilt back up, including bone. When this happens, these inflammatory markers are released into the blood. So what are the things that they tested? Active recovery, stretching, massage, hydrotherapy, contrast therapy, compression garments. What did I miss? Electrostimulation and cryotherapy. Whew. So within this article, what were the top 5 tools for recovery? Number 1, massage. I know it sounds weird, but yes, massage was number 1. Now, this is not your Theragun or your massage percussion gun. This is actually massage. Authors found that massage directly after exercise or 2 hours post-exercise had the best results for DOMS, up to 96 hours after, inflammatory component reduction, and perceived fatigue. It is believed that this is because an increase of blood flow and moving some of those metabolites out of the muscles is a huge reason why this was so effective. It also had a very big increase on perceived pain afterwards. How realistic is it for you to get a massage post snowboarding every time? I don't know. Maybe if you have an awesome spouse or partner. I don't know, however, how effective massage guns are, but it's worth a try. Number 2 is actually a tie between compression garments and cold water immersion. Both of these had a significant impact on DOMs 24 to 48 hours after and perceived fatigue returning back to their sport. Now, how tight do the compression garments have to be? That's a good question. The idea here is compression applied around tissues. Essentially has a very similar effect to massage. You're moving blood back up to the heart. The veins require kind of that contraction from the muscle that push the blood back up because there's no soft tissue within. And they kind of have a backflow plug that pushes through and then that valve closes again. So again, it's moving those inflammatory and muscle damage markers back up to the heart, removing those metabolites out of the muscle. That's the idea. So authors found that an exposure in cold water therapy of 11 to 15 degrees Celsius or roughly 51 degrees Fahrenheit or lower for that 11 to 15 minutes was most optimal for DOMs specifically. Last year we talked about Dr. Andrew Huberman, who is a big advocate of cold water immersion therapy. If you want to check out more, you can check out these articles here. He discusses temperatures being around that 38 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 minutes max for a total of 11 minutes throughout a week to get the most bang for your buck. Number 4, contrast water therapy. What does this mean? Essentially, this means going from cold to hot, hot to cold. I'm not sure if you can apply the sauna in this situation just because that's not what the authors utilized, but I would question whether that would be just as sufficient. They found that this had a significant impact on DOMs, but not so much on perceived fatigue. Lastly, number 5 was active recovery. So what does that mean? They've known about active recovery for a long time, for decades. So essentially, active recovery is a low impact movement. So that could be some cold pool exercises. I believe that's what they did in this study, or it could be some low impact movements post workout. Active recovery had very similar effects on DOMs as well as inflammatory markers. Again, the idea here is you're contracting your muscles, you're moving those inflammatory markers back up through your heart, getting rid of them out of your system, cleaning up through your kidneys, etc. So what are some of the things that this specific study did not talk about that I truly believe in and there is actual evidence behind it? That would be nutrition, sauna, and sleep. So again, Dr. Andrew Huberman discusses sauna benefits. Now, this is not necessarily towards the recovery side of things. This is towards the overall health and longevity, specifically mostly because of the aerobic capacity of the heart effect that it has. When you put yourself under stress like that, your heart has to work harder. So essentially it's like a low-grade cardio session. The idea here is if your blood is working, if your heart is working, it's moving blood throughout your system, again, removing those inflammatory markers away and giving you a lower DOMS effect and less perceived fatigue. Next is nutrition. Now, nutrition is a hot topic. There are millions, billions of dollars that are running through the nutrition industry. I do have some issues with the nutrition industry because it's not regulated by the FDA, so you need to be very careful. There's a lot of marketing out there with very little research. We do know that replacing those carbohydrates and protein sources are beneficial post-exercise to help your recovery. It makes sense. You're breaking down the muscle, you need to build it back up. If it's in the system, it's going to utilize it. Now, ideally, we'd get those from whole foods. Can you utilize whey proteins or other sources like that? Absolutely. There's a number of common supplements out there that claim to have beneficial effects. You could go from BCAAs, cherry, tart juice, beet juice, things like that. Some of it has some evidence, others does not. I always fall back on if it helps, utilize it. But just know that you want to stay as scientific as you can. Lastly is sleep. Again, I refer back to Dr. Andrew Huberman. He is a huge advocate of sleep, and it makes sense. When you sleep, your body repairs itself. If you're not sleeping as optimally or as well as you should, your body's not repairing as well as it possibly could. So sleep is a priority. I'll put some resources in the description in regards to why you should be sleeping. As we age, recovery becomes more and more vital because our body takes a little bit longer to regenerate, to recover. So if you're not already putting this as a priority, I highly recommend that you take recovery a little bit more seriously, because you can stay injury-free longer, you can perform at your very best and have the absolute best time you want on the mountain. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.